I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
The St. Louis County Board is considering a wheelage tax to help pay for road repairs in the county. If passed, you'll be paying $10 more when you renew your license tabs.
Duluth pet owners could face hefty fees if their animal is impounded. A new city ordinance is designed to encourage having your pet spayed or neutered.
And there's some real monkey business going on at the Lake Superior Zoo. We'll take you there to meet the latest arrival.
These stories and more coming up next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. There's a bit of an animal theme on this week's show, Julie.
Yeah, animals and taxes. If one doesn't bite you, the other one will, I guess.
Okay, so before we get to our furry friends, we've got a new county proposal to talk about.
All right, that's right. It's called a wheelage tax, Denny, and the 2013 legislature authorized greater Minnesota counties to impose this new fee on vehicle owners. The St. Louis County Board is considering the fee to help bridge a gap in the county's road budget. If passed, it would cost you $10 more per year to license your vehicle in St. Louis County. And joining us now with more is Frank Jewell, a St. Louis County Commissioner from Duluth, and John Ongaro is the county's Intergovernmental Relations Director. And thanks to both of you for being here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jewell, why the need for a new tax on vehicles in the county?
Well, you know, the county has, as is not surprising, probably the largest miles of road in the state for a county, 3,000 almost, and there's been a decreasing amount of money over the last 40 years for road repair. And while some of those roads receive funding from the state and federal governments for some of their repair, a large portion of them are the responsibility of the county. And the money that we get, the very regressive kind of way we've done this, funded, is through property taxes. And so this is a new tool, and I think John can speak better about this, that we can use.
John, what's the overall condition of St. Louis County roads?
Very poor and getting worse. We had our Public Works Department give a presentation to the County Board a few weeks ago, and the pavement quality index of our overall system, over 1/3 of our roads are in either very poor or poor pavement quality index. So from a competitive standpoint, statewide, I think it opened up the eyes of a number of county commissioners that we need to look seriously at improving our overall road system so we can compete with other counties in the state.
How many miles of overall county roads?
There's close to 3,000 miles of county roads, and we have roughly half of them in the county state aid highway system, and the other half are more local roads.
Sure.
Now, those that are in the county state aid highway system, those are in better shape. They have higher traffic counts. It's more of the local roads that are in extremely bad condition.
How much revenue would you be able to generate with this $10 wheelage tax, and realistically, how much progress would that allow you to make on an annual basis?
So it is about $1.5 million every year. It allows us to do not an enormous amount. You know, it only does like 8.3 miles of gravel road and 3.3 of paved road. But, and I think this is the thing, our department, Public Works Department, really has put together a plan for how we move forward to getting all of these roads in better condition. It's going to take a long time.
Sure.
but this is part of the.
Now, this is only a proposal so far. There hasn't been a final vote on this. What kind of vehicles would be included in a wheelage tax, and what type of vehicles might be excluded?
So do you want to answer this? Do you know it better than I?
Essentially, automobiles, cars that or the vehicles that would be excluded would be recreational vehicles, motorcycles, mopeds, and collector cars.
I see. Everything else would be included.
Right.
From a corporate standpoint as well, corporate fleets?
Yes, they would be included, yes.
Now, would this be new money? You had mentioned that we currently fund the roads with property taxes here in St. Louis County. Or would property taxes go down because you suddenly had a new way to fund some of the road improvements?
One thing I want to be clear, we fund roads in the county with a variety of sources, but the source for roads that we are solely responsible for has been property taxes. And so this is new revenue and would add to the revenue we have available.
A wheelage tax is nothing new in the state, however.
No, it's been around for, I don't know how many years, but for a long time in the Twin Cities, and they have used it regularly.
Right.
Are there other counties who are already on board?
Right, the metropolitan counties are, most of them.
Yeah, those seven.
Started in 1972, and they're currently paying $5, or charging $5. So they too have to vote on this to go to the $10 if they so wish.
Is $10 an absolute, or is it up to $10?
Well,
It is $10 as an absolute. Later in 2018, the law says that then you have the right to go up to $20, but you can go in increments then of $1 increments if you so wish.
Frank, when would the board take a solid look at this then, the
so
county board?
the next discussion will be on the 30th of July. I think there were only 5 of us at the meeting when we discussed this the other day, and so people were not there, and I think we'll have a more lively discussion.
If the county board says yes, do you also need legislative approval or no?
No, this is something that counties were given the authority by the legislature to do.
Unlike you could not increase a gas tax, for example.
Nope.
The state would have to do that.
Right.
Are you getting a sense of how the board might lean on this? Does it seem like this is a strong likelihood? Is the public going to have any input in it?
So it's interesting. I know that several board members said that they had heard from people at coffee shops, et cetera, that they were not necessarily in favor. I've actually heard more positive response that people think this makes sense. If you have a car, we're having a decrease in gas taxes because people are driving less. It's going to continue over time. This gives us one tool by which to charge people for driving, in a sense.
About how much money a year could St. Louis County garner with a wheelage tax?
Well, 1.5 million. And it would all be new money and money that we would be able to really use, as we said, to do, about, 11 miles of road.
Do you anticipate other neighboring counties coming on board this? Do you think they will be?
I have not heard from others. I think it's a mixed bag as to whether people will do it. I think some are going to, some are not. I think there are also a number who are going to wait longer. There's some thought that maybe things will change and there will be different possibilities in the future.
One other option that also sounds like it's on the table now is a local sales tax option that the county could use, a half of 1% that would not have to be. You would not have to go through a referendum to impose that. Is that an option that people are talking about seriously as well?
Well, the very first deadline the county has facing them is the wheelage tax. On the sales tax, yes, there was another change at the legislature this year that allows counties to charge up to a half a cent a sales tax for transportation also. That, however, does not have to be acted on until the 1st of January if a county board so decides. And it is open to the county board to do on any given quarter. So if the county board, say, chose not to do something by January 1st of next year, they could do so by April 1st of next year or July 1st of next year. So it's just another tool in the toolbox, as Commissioner Jewell said, for counties to utilize.
So one thing that I'd add to this, so it's two pieces, and we're looking at the wheelage tax. You know, we have, if you just look at the roads, the paved roads, we have about 490 miles of paved roads that are in bad condition and need to be fixed. And at 8.3 miles, that's 146 years for using the 1.5 million in this. If we add to that the sales tax, which is about 9.5 million, so we'd have a total of 11 million. We get this done in about 14 years.
Okay.
So
Would this additional revenue also help with bridge repair?
Well, the sales tax, definitely.
So a possibility of not one or the other, but one and the other is what you're saying is
I,
fairly
however,
likely?
will tell you, I think we will get a lot greater pushback about a sales tax increase. So, I mean, it partially because it hits people differently. It has a different effect on people's pocketbook depending on their how much money they make. You know, so it could be something that the public goes, I don't know. Though I will tell you that the county board is very interested in looking at both.
All right. Well, when that second discussion comes up, we may have you gentlemen back. Thanks for coming in
Thank
and
you
talking
both.
about the
Thank
wheelage
you.
tax.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
This morning, it was tighten the cinches and check the straps as the first two horse patrols in 63 years prepared to hit the streets of Duluth.
Get ready to go there, Cisco, buddy.
Officers Jim Rose and Chris Campbell were the first two Mounties out. Their partners, quarter horses Mr. Chips and Cisco, probably two of the more tolerant mounts around, as they've proved in the past few weeks.
They've been down here and they've been able to handle the bridge sounds, the helicopter flying over, all the people, dogs, other horses. I mean, there's just a lot to ask a horse to handle, and these two have handled it just super.
The Mounties spent most of the day touring Bayfront Park, where they quickly became the focus of attention.
It seems so good to see them on the mounted horses. I think it's going to bring prestige to Duluth.
There's something, well, sort of friendly about a cop on a horse.
Hi. Hi.
And that's one idea behind having the horse patrols.
We get a chance to meet people and let them know where we are and what we do. And at the same time, in the park system here, a lot of our parks aren't accessible by vehicle, and so we'll have a chance to get in and enforce some of the park regulations and straighten out some problems that we have.
3 officers have been assigned to the horse duty. 1 more mount is needed to fill out the teams. They then plan to be hoofing it along the waterfront 7 days a week. Julie Zenner, KDLH News.
Well, if you're a dog or a cat owner in the city of Duluth, the city council recently added new incentives to have your pet spayed or neutered. You can pick up a city pet license for $10 if you have taken these precautions. Now, without them, if your pet is picked up and brought to the pound, it could get quite expensive to spring your furry friend. Joining us now to explain is Carrie Lane, the City of Duluth's Animal Control Officer, and Dr. Amanda Bruce is a veterinarian who runs PetCare of Duluth. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being here. Carrie, give us the basics of this new Duluth City Ordinance, if you can.
Well, we're increasing licensing fees just a bit for spayed and neutered animals. Our fees are much lower than the national average. So right now they're 8, they're going to go up to 10. For people who have unaltered pets, the license fees are going to go from 8 to 75.
There's an incentive there, in other words.
There's an incentive, yes. And this is a typical thing that the major humane organizations in the nation do recommend that we do. And then the fees for actually reclaiming animals, even though the press has talked about them going up, they're actually going to go down if animals are spayed and neutered. So we're actually dropping our fees for reclaiming spayed and neutered pets, and we're dropping our nightly board. The fee for reclaiming an intact animal will go up.
Yeah. Now, as an animal control officer, are you seeing a lot of pets still loose on the streets?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
Yeah.
Amanda, from a vet's perspective, why is it a good idea to incentivize having pets fixed, spayed or neutered?
Well, from the spayed or neutered standpoint, historically in this community, cats in particular have been an issue. So unaltered cats roam more, they want to get out of the house more, they reproduce so quickly, and they really become a menace, not necessarily a menace, but people call with complaints about them. You know, it's always questionable who's caring for them. They can be carriers of disease. And so spay neuter, when we're talking about cats, definitely decreases the community cat load.
Yeah.
Without aggressive spay neuter of cats in this community, we would still be euthanizing healthy animals. I mean, this community has made a really concerted effort to get into high-risk neighborhoods and do concerted spay neuter efforts. And I think at last count, stray intake was down something like 27% in the city of Duluth since spay neuter initiatives came on board.
When you talk about these spay neuter initiatives, are these opportunities for homeowners to get these services at a reduced price, or just to make them more convenient?
Yep. So Animal Allies partnered with Northland Spay Neuter Clinic in 2009 to open a clinic that served, that was aimed at serving low-income households. And so dogs and cats can be altered at lower cost. Another portion of this that people aren't necessarily raising concern about is it's also encouraging rabies vaccination as well, which is required with the licensing. And stats show that about 25% of pet owners don't visit a vet annually. And so my focus in the Duluth Twin Ports community here has really been opening up veterinary care to low-income people. So I have a clinic, PetCare of Duluth, and our exam fee and our service prices are about 25 to 40% less than most clinics in the area. And we're right in the center of Lincoln Park. And we have a lot of people who walk to us. And so for that neighborhood, people on the bus line, that previously PetCare wouldn't have been an accessible option for them.
Sure.
There are options. And so that's really what my goal is to get out there to people that there are options. You can afford to see a vet. You can get that rabies vaccine done. You can get your pet spayed and neutered really affordably.
I don't hear much talk about this. Are cats required to be licensed in Duluth?
Yes. All the ordinances that apply to dogs also apply to cats. So we treat them the same in the city. And it has been like that since, I think, 1999. We changed some of the laws. So yes, cats are subject to exactly the same as dogs here.
What kind of fines are we looking at if a dog or a cat is picked up not licensed?
Well, the thing about this is that we're going to be trying to help people become compliant, and we're calling it compliant when they're licensed, spayed or neutered, and up to date on rabies shots. So we're not going to really be necessarily fining people for not having a license. We'll be selling them a license. If they refuse to buy a license, they would get a fine, but I don't think many people are going to refuse to buy a $10 license. If the animal is not up to date on rabies shots, what we're going to do is work with the person to get that done, because this is a public safety issue.
Sure.
Animals being vaccinated against rabies is good for animals and good for people.
How often should they be revaccinated?
After their initial vaccine, so the first time an animal is vaccinated against rabies, it needs to be boosted in a year, and then beyond that it becomes every 3 years.
Do most people in the city, most pet owners, take licensing seriously, or is it kind of like, it's my pet, nobody's going to notice, it's in my house?
I think you are right. I think they don't necessarily take it seriously, and I think there's also the situation that a lot of people don't even realize that it needs to happen. And so what we're trying to do right now is to let the community know that it is important. And one thing that is changing about this is in the past, the fees, all the license fees were going into the city's general fund, and so they were not coming back to animal control and animals. And now they are going to all go to animal control and allow us to do a better job and take better care of the animals.
Do veterinarians ask if a pet is licensed?
No.
Okay, so you don't have to turn in an unlicensed animal to care for the animal?
No.
What about the concern that some people have raised that the hefty fees to spring your pet if it's taken in and doesn't have all of the licenses or the vaccinations might result in people just abandoning more pets at the shelters, and it could overload the system?
You know, I would be surprised. Our reclaim rate is, you know, pretty much the national average right now. And we've been actually doing this unofficially for years. We've been helping people if they come in and they've got an unaltered pet. We've been working with Northland Spay Neuter, working with local clinics, and we are actually located in the Lincoln Park neighborhood. We're within walking distance of the Spay Neuter Clinic and PetCare. So, you know, and a lot of the people that might be struggling would be low-income people. And so, you know, our goal is not to punish people, but to try to help people become compliant. And, you know, we've really had good luck with that. And you know, in a lot of ways, nothing's going to change. Very few people are going to refuse to spay and neuter their pets.
Animal Allies appears to have pretty good success in finding homes for dogs and cats. To what do you attribute that?
I think they run a great program up at Animal Allies, honestly. You know, they do a good job of attempting to match appropriate pets with the appropriate owner, you know, through some behavior assessment type things that they do. You know, they meet or exceed most of the industry standards when it comes to, you know, sending them out vaccinated, microchipped, already spayed and neutered. You know,
are you doing some microchipping at
we do microchipping.
Yep,
we do microchipping. We absolutely encourage microchipping, and animals actually to just wear a collar with their name on it is the easiest thing, because if your animal shows up next door with a name collar and a phone number, it's easier to return than getting a microchip scanned.
Carrie, when does all this go into effect, and where do people get the licenses if they don't already have their pet licensed?
Okay, it will go into effect December 1st. And the reason that we chose that date is that the new licenses for 2014 will be coming out at that same time. And so people will then be able to get on board with this new program. We are offering for the first time lifetime pet licenses, and those I think will be, I think it's going to be $50, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good deal if you plan to have your pet for a long time. And so yeah, December 1st will be our...
And they go to your office or City Hall, or can they do this online, or what's the best way?
We're hoping to have online licensing up and running by then. City Hall for sure, the city clerk's office, our shelter, we will have them. Animal Allies also has them, and we're hoping that some of the local vets might be willing to get on board with us too. And
a great discussion. Amanda, Carrie, thank you both for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, it's time now for the week's economic news from the folks at Business North. Bonnie Copenhaver was named Administrator and Vice President of Academic Affairs at the Wisconsin Indian Head Technical College campus in Superior. She previously was Provost for a community college in Tennessee, in charge of academic affairs. Copenhaver replaces Diane Verteen, who accepted a position at St. Paul College. Copenhaver began her career as an assistant professor of English and theater, and then added a doctorate in educational leadership.
Two top executives are stepping down from their positions with Cliffs Natural Resources, which owns or manages 5 regional mines. Joseph Caraba stepped down as board chairman, and announced plans to retire as the company's president and chief executive officer by the year's end. The company's president of global operations also stepped down effective immediately. Like many mining companies, Cliffs has been plagued by reduced mineral prices, sharply reducing its profits. Its stock was trading at about $17 this week after topping $100 in 2011.
People who donated to the newborn intensive care unit at Essentia Health St. Mary's Medical Center received their first glimpse of the remodeled facility this week. There were more than 800 financial contributors to the project. 18 private patient rooms were constructed to accommodate infants and their families. When work on the new rooms ends, the old NICU will be converted to office space for staff. In the last phase of the project, a new family waiting room will be built, funded by Ronald McDonald House Charities. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have something to say about our show, pick up your telephone, dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org. And you can also go to the WDSC website for program updates, news about the station, or watch archive video of your favorite public TV programs. And finally tonight, Julie, they are going bananas at the Lake Superior Zoo. Now, usually we don't monkey around on this show, but tonight we're making an exception. We took a camera to the zoo, which recently welcomed a new baby monkey. Primate keeper Dave Thompson explained what makes this new arrival something to appreciate.
Back behind me, you'll see our outdoor Angolan colobus exhibit. It's part of the housing that we have. They have indoor exhibit access as well. 2 weeks ago, on June 26th, in the early AM hours, our female, Kelly, who's 15 years old, gave birth to a baby, which hasn't happened for a while. She gave birth to this infant after being approved on a breeding recommendation through the Species Survival Plan coordinator and committee. So Kelly is an experienced mom. In fact, her daughter, Kiro, who's our other female, is 10 years old, was born here at the zoo in 2002. We have not named the baby yet, and we will hold off until we're 100% sure on the sex. And a lot of times what we like to do is I like to let the baby's personality kind of lead us in a name that's suitable for that offspring. So I will be in contact with our marketing and our director, and we'll decide how we're going to proceed. So the importance that this plays, it's going to assure the fact that there's going to be enough animals, enough of the Angolan colobus in the American zoo system so that we can expand on the family tree lines, the genetics of having babies in the future. Because if you have only so many animals, eventually you're going to run out of options. So we're always looking to make sure that rather than taking animals from the wild, which as zoos we really prefer not to do, we want to make sure genetically that we have good, healthy babies with no inbreeding. If you haven't been to the zoo for a while, come on down and see us. We're making improvements every day. And if you haven't been here, you don't know what we're all about, please come on down and see us.
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
And here I just thought you were a baboon.
Oh, my. For Julie and the crew at Almanac North, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.